Welcome everyone to the D2 and D3 contestant briefing for the International Speech Contest and the Evaluation Speech Contest. I am Chris Poole. I will be your chief judge for this event. Ed Thielen is our contest master for the event for both the D2 and D3. And also on our meeting here today, we have the D2 area director, Scott Kaizen. Our D3 area director, James White, is not on the call. And as of right now, we only have one contestant on the call. We will go through everything, get the questions if Todd has them. We are recording the session and it will be sent out to all of our contestants. As we go through, if I start talking too fast, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or issues, interrupt right away. We will either address them as they come up, or it may be talked about a little bit later in the session. So just kind of keep that in mind, please. So I want to give a couple of reminders for everyone. So if you have not yet, as a contestant, completed the speaker eligibility form and originality, it's combined on one form, and that speaker contestant profile sheet, that needs to be completed before you can actually be a contestant and be called in to compete. We do ask both of these forms be completed. If you are competing in both contests, we do need two separate eligibility forms, but you can use the same profile sheet for both contests. How our event is going to go. As all of you know, our area contest, this is going to be all virtual. At this time, there are no plans to record any part of the contest. However, if you as a contestant, if you want your specific evaluation or your international speech contest speech recorded, please let me as your chief judge and Ed as your contest master. We need to know. We need to notify our tech master so that he or she can record your speech. And Ed will also be announcing that to the audiences then, or the attendees. When the contest is over, that recording link will be sent to you. It will not be set up that you can share it other than, and it will not, you cannot share it outside of you. We don't want it posted out onto any social media or anything to that effect. When you arrive on Friday night for the actual contest, our Zoom room is going to start and be open at 5 o'clock. The contestant briefing will be at 5:45. Our speech contest will actually begin at 6:15. When you come into the Zoom room, and then we will put you into the appropriate breakout rooms. We are going to be asking all attendees to rename themselves with just their first name. Contestants, you'll be asked to rename yourself based on your speaking order and which contest that you are speaking in. So we'll have an example. We have Todd on the line. So we would have EC, evaluation contest, S1, or whatever his speaking order is. So speaker one in this example, and then Todd Gayton for his name. There should not be any credentials, mention of clubs or districts in that name. All the rest of the attendees in the meeting will just be asked to rename themselves as their first name only, with the exception of Chief Judge Chris Poole, Contest Toastmaster Ed Thielen, D2 Area Director Scott, and D3 Area Director James. We will have our tech master and their name available. The timer. So we do have two timers for our event. The timer will actually be listed. They will be renamed as timer. They will use the background of the timer card. And let me bring it up and show you. So they will have the timer card and they will have their hand raised as well. When their hand is electronically raised, it should move them automatically to the upper left portion of your screen. So you should always know where that timer is located. If you are arranging your screen to be full screen, gallery view, speaker view, you should still always be able to see that timer. We will spotlight the speakers, and that should still keep the timer with their hand raised in that upper left corner. We will practice that on Friday night. Since I'm talking about the timer, when you begin your speaking, the first word or overt gesture is when the timer is going to begin timing. For the evaluation contest, there will be a green shown at the 2-minute mark, yellow at 2.5, red at the 3-minute mark. The red will remain up until you have finished. Once you have finished, we will ask for 1 minute of silence, and then we will move on to the next contestant. Once all the speakers are done for that evaluation contest, we will show the background of silence until all ballots are collected. So all of the judges will have a little bit of time, complete their tallies, and submit their votes. The evaluation contest, 2 to 3 minutes. The international speech contest is a time frame of 5 to 7 minutes. The timing will be green at 5 minutes, yellow at 6, red at that 7-minute mark, and 1 minute of silence between each speaker after each individual contest. Again, D2 evaluation, D2 international, D3 evaluation, D3 international. That's when we will be collecting all of the ballots. Any questions so far? Okay. For the evaluation contest, we will have a test speaker for D2, and we will have a different test speaker for D3. The test speaker will have a 5 to 7 minute time frame. All of the evaluation contestants can use paper. There's going to be no electronic note taking. There is an official, come back on. There is an official evaluation form that basically says evaluation contest form, and it's pretty much blank on both sides. You can use that or a blank sheet of paper. You can use multiple sheets of paper. You cannot have anything pre-written on that sheet of paper coming into the contest. Once the test speaker begins, you can take notes as you are listening to him or her. Once that test speaker is done, the evaluation contestants will be moved into a breakout room along with the sergeant at arms. You will have 5 minutes of silence for you to write any of your notes, organize your thoughts on how you will be sharing your evaluation when it is your turn. Once the 5 minutes is up, especially if there are multiple contestants for that evaluation contest, your notes have to be turned to a position where you cannot see them or refer to them anymore in that breakout room. And you'll be asked to have your camera on and just kind of keep your hands up to the top. So we just can verify that you're not typing, you're not picking your nose, you're not doing anything on your computer. The evaluations contestants will be coming into the main room one at a time. So the Zoom master will send a note into that briefing room and say, contestant 1, John Doe, please come to the main room. That contestant returns to the main room. And when they come into the main room, if it is still during a minute of silence, be quiet. Shh, be quiet. Be very, very quiet. Our contest master, once that minute of silence is done, Ed will verify that your audio and video is working properly, that you can see and hear us. We can see and hear you, and you will also verify that you can see the timer. Once that has been confirmed, Ed will introduce the evaluation contestant by first and last name 2 times. John Doe, John Doe. And then the contestant begins speaking. Timing begins at that first word or overt gesture. So as a contestant, so Ed has said, John Doe, and John Doe comes up. Hey, wait, hang on. I don't have my time. I forgot my sheet in the other room. That timing has already begun. And I know some timers think, well, when the contestant says, hang on, I don't have my stuff, I'm not ready, that they should hold off on that starting the time. That is incorrect. Timing begins immediately. If there are technical issues during a speech, you lose connection and you are dropped off, you can reconnect into that meeting. If you are able to reconnect within about 3 minutes, we will have, because then we will put the contest just on a hold. And if you are able to get back into the meeting in about 2 or 3 minutes, you would resume your speaking where you left off. You do not get to restart again. You will be allowed an extra 30 seconds of time before you would be disqualified, but the timing lights will still go up at the normal 2, 2.5, and 3 minute mark, or the 5, 6, and 7 minute mark. So if you're talking and the yellow had come up, you end up losing connection, the timer will stop at that point. We'll save that timing portion, and then when you come back into the room, you pick up within a sentence or so of where you stopped. Timer will still hold that red at that appropriate time, but when they record the time onto the official timer's report card and submit it to the chief judge, I will review the time. Oh yeah, John Doe, he had that glitch, he lost connection, he came back in. Timer report card says he came in at 3 minutes and 37 seconds. He actually will have a 30-second over that would be allowed, and he would not be disqualified. Questions on that? Hi, Michael. Hi, Carl. For Michael and Carl, we did start, but I am recording the session. I'll send it out. You can always go back and watch it and then get back to me if you have any questions. All right. So once the evaluation contest for D2 has completed, during that 5 minutes when you as the evaluation contestants are in the breakout room, that's when our contest Toastmaster will interview our test speaker. Once you as the evaluation contestant have finished your presentation, you will, if you want to leave, you can, but you can remain in the main room and hear all of the subsequent evaluation speakers. So sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, depending on your placement and your outlook of, I'm first, I'm so nervous, I can't wait to get it done and over with. And then you hear the rest of the evaluators of, oh, I should have said that. Versus the last contestant has no idea what has been said before. So they're at that little disadvantage, but that's why we only have one person at a time. You don't get to hear the prior speakers. Once the contestants are all done, we will get all of the ballots collected. As chief judge, I will say, with all the ballots are collected, and then Ed would pronounce that the D2 evaluation contest has adjourned. The results will be announced at the end of the evening. We will then move immediately into the D2 international speech contest. International speech contest, the contestants can remain in the room for everyone else. The contestants have a 5 to 7 minute time frame. I did not mention this before. So for timing, a contestant is disqualified for time if they are 30 seconds under or 30 seconds over. So try and make sure you hit that green, and you want to kind of stop when that red shows up as well. So for the international contest, each contestant is introduced by their name, speech title, and their name. Before they are given that introduction, Ed will verify and confirm their audio and their video, and that you can see the timer in the upper left corner of your screen. I am going to take a wild guess here that as an evaluation contestant, there will not be any additional Zoom screens, props, techniques, or anything used. International contests, there may be props or backgrounds or a screen share, anything to that effect. If you are planning to do a screen share or anything that needs some setup, all of that would need to be set up and tested within that 1 minute of silence before you begin. You're not going to get extra time. When Ed gives you that introduction, your timing begins at your first word or gesture. So if you're trying to do a screen share and you're saying, wait, that's not working for me or anything, your timing has begun. I'm going to be very strict on this. So just warning you that that is what will happen. Contestants then, 5 to 7 minutes. Once you have finished, then we will ask for that minute of silence, and then the next contestant will be asked to approach and will be asked to verify audio and video. They can see the timer, and then Ed will introduce name, title, name. We will have, I think I mentioned this before, but we have a couple new contestants. We don't want any backgrounds or anything that's going to indicate your level of experience, your specific club, promotion of the company you work for, or anything. If you want to use the Toastmaster background with the values is fine, but nothing else. Let me see. What are my other notes? Oh, the speaking space. It is your option if you want to stand and take use of more of your room, or if you want to sit in front of your camera, how far back or forward, that is your choice. Your speaking area is the confines of your Zoom camera. If you are using a Zoom background, just note that sometimes you disappear off the screen. That can be distracting. It may take away from your message. It is not a disqualifying factor, but a judge may decide to mark you down because of that. One suggestion, it's not anything mandatory, but it's a suggestion, be in a room like how Scott is, where it's just basically, just a nice, clean, fresh background in a physical room. So if you're standing or sitting, that way, then if you are moving and doing your gestures, you're not getting cut off by any of that information. We are going to ask, and again, I think I'm repeating this, but we are going to ask all attendees who are in that contest to have their cameras turned off, so that everyone, it's just going to be their name on a black screen, other than if you are the speaker speaking, and then we have our contest master as well. Let me see my notes. All right. Just going through my notes. Any questions right now? Nope.
Nope. Good.
All right. And then do the message. All right. So as contestants, you can protest. Oh, Todd, yes.
So my question has to do with originality or not quoting something of the previous speaker. So if the evaluation or the evaluators are in the room, like in the waiting room, and say I'm evaluator number 2, but an evaluator number 1 comes in and says XYZ. If
Mm-hmm.
I come in and I'm evaluator number two and I say XYZ, I shouldn't be penalized because I
No,
can't have known what that person said and be
correct.
parroting. So
Yes.
how is that rule going to be applied to us?
So for evaluation, that part of the originality would not affect your response. If you came in as contestant number two and you come in and say, well, actually a friend of mine texted me and I saw it that, contestant one said this and this. So I'm going to make sure I don't say this and this. That because you're referencing that other contestant, you should not know what they are talking about. But frequently each person could theoretically come up with the exact same, I say exact same um, things that they came across in areas for suggestion. That is going to be original to you. So evaluation is kind of the weird one for that originality. And I understand the way you're thinking, but it's not because you heard and know what that first contestant spoke about. Originality and evaluation could be protested, though, if you come back out and you say, um, oh, this could be weird. 25% of the speech can be attributed to other people. So if you come out and you're starting to say something that, well, Darren LaCroix, world champion of public speaking, said I should always talk about this, and this when I'm evaluating a speaker. So I'm just going to follow through what Darren says I should do. That may cause questions for originality, but you're still coming up with your own ideas for it. So I don't think there would be necessarily protests on originality in evaluation. Protests on evaluation in reference to other contestants really come into play in that international speech contest because each contestant is hearing what the other person is saying. So if we have John and then Jane in international, John goes first, gives his, Jane comes up. All right, I completely agree with what John told you about in his speech. But today I'm actually going to talk about something completely different. That is a protest option because they referenced, actually, that's a disqualifying one because they referenced that first speaker right there. If the person is for originality, I've seen this as an issue that I had a judge protest an international contestant. Well, I heard the contestant give their speech at the club level, so it's not original. It is still original to that speaker. They're encouraged to use that same speech throughout every level. It comes up where John is giving his speech, and I remember that I remember hearing, Oprah Winfrey used, she gave this speech, like 27 years ago because I'm weird and I listen to this stuff. And it's pretty much the whole speech. This is someone else's speech. That's something you would want to protest. Does that answer the question?
Kind of. My point was, so in evaluation, sometimes you single out a part of their speech to
Mm-hmm.
show where they could have improved or
Mm-hmm.
where they've done something different. I don't want to, by
No,
doing that,
nope, that
you
would
know,
not be,
I am
no.
now quoting what the other person said and being disqualified because I'm using what they did. I know the intention of the rule, but I did get disqualified last year in one of the competitions. I think it was actually an evaluation competition in a different district because I did that. And I'm like, this is BS.
I
Like,
would agree that is BS. As chief judge, so if anyone does protest for originality or any of the eligibility or anything, as chief judge, I will ask the person who is lodging the protest, give me the explanation of why are you protesting? And depending on the explanation, I will make a decision of yes, this is something we need to talk with the contestant and the other judges about. Or so if a judge comes in and says, I'm protesting Todd because he actually referenced the speaker, directly on what they said. I'm going to say, I'm sorry, that is part of his job as an evaluation contestant. He is giving the response, the information. He's referencing that contestant or that test speaker. That is what you do in the evaluation contest. This is not something that we will go any further on. It is allowable. All right. So for protests, then, so we have that originality. You can use up to 25% of your speech can be other people's material, but you need to cite those sources. So if you start out with a quote, you start singing a song, whatever. If you use part of in 7 years ago, you know, we know it's not you, and if you don't attribute that to that Abraham Lincoln, that could be a protest, but it's also not 25% of your speech unless you give the whole thing. So up to 25% of your speech can be other material, but it should be cited. 75% should be original to you. You can reuse a speech that you have performed at another level or another club. The education requirements, everyone is required to have that eligibility form. The evaluation contestants, you're a paid member in a club of good standing. That's your requirement. International contestants, you must be also a paid member in a club in good standing and have either a DTM, if it's from that prior education curriculum, or a level 1 and level 2 earned in any of the paths in our current pathways program. Those are our eligibility. Right now, with our area contests and majority of the division contests, we should not have any eligibility issues for the member payment. Anything that happens from April 1st and on, we have to be very careful to ensure all members and the clubs have paid their dues. So if Carl advances to division and the division contest is on April 7th, he paid his dues to his club treasurer, but the club treasurer is still waiting for a few more people to give their dues before he actually submits everything, all of those member payments in international. Carl is disqualified because he is not eligible. So nothing that he did, but someone from his club made him ineligible to speak. Does that make sense? It sucks, but that's what happens. All right. If you, as a contestant, if you have a protest, let me, as your chief judge, let Ed, as your contest master, know. We will take care of whatever issues need to be investigated on that one. All right, I'm just looking at my other notes of what needs to be done. You should have all received a copy of this year's contest rulebook. Make sure that you read through that rulebook, that you're familiar with the rules, especially for your individual contests. The ballots that the judges are using, it is your right to review those ballots ahead of time. You should know what you're being judged on for that contest. I, even to this day, so I don't know how many years I've been doing this, I will still have contestants come up. Well, I didn't know that I could read the judge's ballot. I didn't know any of that information. You should be reading the contest ballot. And there are different judging criteria for each contest. On the back of the ballot or the second page, it gives an explanation of what the judges will be listening and looking for. All right, let's see. We already talked. I'm just going through. I decided not to share the actual PowerPoint presentation because what's the point of that? And let's see, protest. We talked about that. Disqualification is automatic with the timing. And again, I get that timer's report, 30 seconds over or under for you. This is one that could be a potential issue. So we are missing quite a few of our contestants today. That's fine. If they miss the short contestant briefing on Friday night, they can't get into the contest, they're running late from work, and if they are not online by 6:15 when Scott opens the contest, welcome everyone. We're going to get right into this, and let me welcome our contest Toastmaster Ed Thielen. If a contestant is not ready to go at that point, they cannot compete. That's a disqualification. So they could have, missed the briefings, any of that stuff. That's fine, as long as we have all of their forms and paperwork ahead of time. Todd.
My question this time is, we know that pole position number 1 and the end position are the two most advantageous positions to be in when giving either a speech or an evaluation. If the person comes in at the last minute missing the pulling of the positions, often that person is given last position because they came in just in the nick of time. This is kind of unfair, but if you play to win and you want that, you can win it that way.
That's a valid point. So this is something that Ed and we should decide right here and now, I think, that when we have our list of contestants who should be in that contest. When we do the order of who's going to speak, we will, even if that contestant is not in that briefing, they will be plugged into a speaking order. And then if they are not in the contest by the time Ed would be introduced, they are out of the running. Does that make sense? Ed, look like you're in a
Yes, I would
question.
be in agreement with that type of approach.
Okay. So, but if they come in just as, okay, it's 6:15 and Scott comes in, all right, we're going to start our contest, and then the contestant joins into the meeting, they would just fit right into their speaking slot. They would not be given any briefing, any additional information. Okay. All right. All right. And then Ed will probably use, wheel of names or the picker wheel or something for just a random generator of the orders. And also during that briefing on Friday night, Ed will confirm the pronunciation of each contestant as well as their speech title for international. Contestant briefing is not huge. So do you have any questions?
Oh,
All right. So then Carl, I did get your forms. Michael, I did not see your forms. I believe you did send them to James because he did send a bunch of stuff to me. I thought I opened them all, but I did not see your specific forms. If you can forward your contestant forms to me, though, I would appreciate it. I will drop my email into the chat box for you. And so then we can just make sure that is good to go. All right. For Todd and Carl, you guys did come a couple minutes late. I'll re-show the timing cards as they will be listed. So our timer will just have the timer background. And again, when you start your first word or overt gesture, they will begin the actual timing. You'll receive green at that minimum target time frame, yellow at the middle, and red at the end. Red will remain up until you have finished your speech. You are asked at the end of the speech, the timer, we have a clear understanding of the end of your speech. Contest master. Just do something very simple. Contest master. That would be the end. Because there have been a few times I've heard contestants that they pause, you think that they're done, and then they actually start into another point again. So we want to make sure if you just say, please say contest Toastmaster, we know for that, we know it's definitely done. After each speaker is done, we will have the 1 minute of silence. After each contest is done, we will have silence until all ballots are collected. And as the chief judge, then I will make the announcement that we have collected all the ballots. The order again, we are going to do the D2 evaluation, D2 international. Depending on the timing, we will probably take a break. After the D2 evaluation and international contests are done, I will go into a breakout room with the ballot counters and will interview all of the contestants for D2. Once the ballots are all done, we'll come back into the main room. We'll announce that we do have winners, but you get to wait till the end of the evening for results. And at that time, we'll just kind of take a quick poll. Do we want to take a short 5-minute break, stand up, stretch, walk, whatever? And then we'll move into the D3 evaluation and D3 international. Same process. And then at the end of the night, so after the D3 contests, we'll move into the breakout for the voting and then come back. We'll finish up with any area, division, district announcements, and then Ed will announce the winners, third place, second place, and first place. And if there were any disqualifications due to time, he would announce that as well. All right, questions, comments, concerns, or issues? Todd.
Since I am in D3, I believe, or D-Jab, say I didn't show up on time for the start of D2, does that disqualify me?
No, because you have to start, because a lot of, I'm going to say no, because it's going to be the introduction of the Toastmaster for the D3 contest.
So technically, I wouldn't have to be there at 6:15. I could be there at like 7:15.
But you don't know the exact timing of it, so I would still be there at 6:15. Because you should
Oh,
actually be there at
I'm
5:45. You should be there at 5:45 because you want that contestant briefing ahead of time. That's when we're doing that contest or drawing for the order, answering any final questions that come up, and doing the audio check. So if you
I
don't
just
want
want
to
to
do,
because it is two different areas. It's two different competitions. It's not like it's one area and it starts at one time. It's like one, then one's finished, and then the second one starts. So that's why I just wanted you to have it on record as it should be. You should have everybody there for the whole thing, not just show up when it's your time to perform.
correct. But if you were to decide, I'm just going to go for the D3 part only, not knowing what time it begins, you may or may not miss out on it then. And you also will not get that audio video check at the beginning or anything like that. Okay. Thank you, Michael. All
And then
right.
Chris,
Yes,
we're announcing all the winners at the end of the.
correct. Yes.
Okay.
So those D2 contestants have to wait all the way through the end. Yes. That is
Okay.
what that's our prerogative to do that to you.
Right. Keep the suspense.
Absolutely.
It also keeps a fuller room for everybody who's performing all the way to
Yes.
the end, opposed to
That's true too.
if you get
Yes.
more representation from D2 and they all leave, then all of a sudden you're only in D3 and you got maybe, I don't know, does each of those areas have like 4 clubs or less? Is there 2 contestants eligible from each one?
So for our D2 contest, we have one contestant from, they're allowed one contestant from each club. The D3, you can have, a club can have 2 contestants for each contest.
So D3 only got 4 clubs and D2 has got 5 clubs or more.
Yes, correct. Yep. All right. That ends our contestant briefing. I'm going to stop the recording.